Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Eva, and I am going to be doing a deep dive into a particular card that came to my attention today. It was so intriguing that I wanted to actually film a reading and see where we go with this idea. So let me show you the card. This is the Snake card from a deck called Forces, Flora, and Fauna by Colleen Hardy. And you can see a coiled snake here covering some different colored gemstones and these bright red flowers as well. So in her deck she includes some keywords for her cards, and for the snake she writes the keywords as eternity knowledge, so knowledge of eternity, sensuality, fertility, and renewal of life. She takes these from different traditions around the world, and she encourages us to use our own ideas to follow our own system of belief wherever we're led to. I found this a really interesting card to pull because this idea of both eternity, like we might see in the Ouroboros symbol of the snake eating its tail, as well as this idea of the earthiness of the flowers and the gemstones, and the very fear that snakes sometimes bring up in people's minds, or the idea of the serpent in the Garden of Eden. There's just so much packed into this idea of both eternity and sensuality, of the sacred and of the biological part of ourselves. So we're created with this craving for the divine, but in a lot of world religions we're also taught almost to fear either ourselves as sensual beings and sexual beings, or the divine, and what is the connection there between the two. I just thought that was really interesting and worth looking at, because I think personally that our culture in America is quite stuck on this concept of the sacred being at peace with the sensual, and there's like no room for that. You either have very puritanistic views of God, or like the other extreme almost. It seems like it's very hard for us as a culture to find our way to a comfortable middle there. Certainly there's been many strides taken place over the last century or so, but I still feel like we're in a battle, and that some of our culture wars are actually somewhat dependent on this very puzzle here. Not that I'm setting out to solve the culture wars, but more so to just sort of look into this for ourselves and see where we as individuals might have some discomfort with this, might have some work to do, might have some healing to happen. So yeah, let's dive in. The idea is to let both tarot and oracle cards kind of guide us through this question and see where we come out at the end. I decided to bring in a tarot called the Lily Black Tarot. I'll list the names of these down below. This is one of my only decks that's it's pretty standard style tarot, yet is also in this darker color. And I really like this darker color for this question for some reason. I kind of feel like there's a sort of a darkness surrounding this subject, and sort of a shadowy nature to it in a lot of our own psyches, certainly in the psyche of American culture, I would say. We're going to see what the tarot wants to say about this particular card in a couple of cards, and then we'll go from there. I shouldn't say what the tarot wants to say. I want to say I believe that Spirit works through the tarot. If this goes too long, I will edit out I will edit if it's too loud too. I like to include it because I think it's good for you to see how much I'm shuffling, but it does slow down the video and make it extra long. I like to focus in for a minute. Here, Spirit, help me know when to stop. Eight of Swords. This is going to be a little harder to see maybe in this deck because of the darker shades. But this is a picture of an eagle who is trapped between several 8 swords, in fact. And the idea here is that our minds, this beautiful eagle wants to soar, right? It's meant to soar. It's meant to be up in the air, and it's trapped down here where our own thoughts are keeping us stuck. So I think that is a good starting point. Our own thoughts about this are often keeping us from exploring it further. There's almost a taboo to talking about where the sacred and the sensual come together, where it's okay to be both things, or how to be both things. Well, I asked myself, where do we go from here? And I decided a good deck to help us with that is the Enchanted Map. Let's see what this deck offers us in terms of where we are right now. We know we're stuck in our heads. Where do we go from here? Let's see. What do we need to know from this deck about this subject? Your grace, your mercy, love, light, truth, forbearance, wisdom. What do we need to know? What do we need to know? What do we need? I'm going to take both of these. Intention. I love that card. There's a pillar in a field of what look like dandelions that are about to blow all their seeds everywhere. That is, the wind's about to carry their seeds everywhere. And then you have this large egg with an owl perched on it and another dandelion in its beak, and the number 22, which is a rather powerful magical number. I like that. Intention. Setting our intentions to delve into this very big question, this question that is ready to crack open, you might say. There's a certain sense again of something that's been connected to both eternity and biology. You have the question of what came first, the chicken or the egg, who put this egg here, right? What is our biological connection to God and our own sensuality and our own desires for a life on earth, not just sex, but the joys of this physical world, collecting beautiful gemstones, for instance, or growing flowers, or where is the connection between the divine and what the divine expects of us and how we enjoy the world and our bodies and so forth. And we also have unexpected visitors. Look at this card. We have a girl looking through a gateway and lights peeping into this space that she's curious about. She's down on the ground, like she's afraid to be seen, She's looking timid. And I think a lot of people, if they're honest, do feel like they have to look at this subject from a hiding place. They have to just peek in at the door and see if it's safe or not. but the title offers something additional. Let's see what it says about the actual card, number 41. Okay, the book says, if you expect the unexpected, you'll be prepared for miracles. Upright. Detours, surprises, and paradigm shifts. Expect the unexpected. No matter how detailed your plans are and how clear you believe the road ahead to be, there are times when the best plans are waylaid by unforeseen circumstances. At first, detours may seem inconvenient, but a surprise turn of events signals that the adventure of life is beginning to get interesting. No one can plan for synchronicity, for fate and destiny to meet, except Spirit, who knows what you can't comprehend for now. Life is full of surprises, so stay on your toes and enjoy this exciting new adventure you weren't expecting. There is a plan for your life that may not match up with your agenda. Okay, I'll read the reverse since it's not very long. Unpleasant news is only unpleasant when you resist accepting what is. Sometimes the thing most desired is kept away from you because it's not for the highest good for you, good of you or others. Sometimes there is loss or disappointment due to a destiny whose pattern can't be understood yet. Change is something that may be forced upon you like bad weather that threatens a boat. Adapt to the shift in conditions and think how beautiful the sky will be afterward. Accept what is, and a more fulfilling path will soon be revealed. Remember that if you expect the unexpected, nothing can come as a shock. I really like that too. I think a lot of us need to have that open mind when coming out of our comfort zone on a subject. We need to, not go in with an agenda of what we're already going to learn or discover. And so we have sort of two cards about here on the map, here where we are, have an intention that you will discover with an open mind what you need, and be aware that Spirit is behind that you do not need to fear the things you will learn, because you can always check in with Spirit on whether that's good for you or not, and how is it good for you. You can take it one step at a time and just trust in God or Goddess or whomever it is that you look to. Trust that they have your best in mind, and you will only go as far as you need to go. Nobody's going to push you further than you're comfortable, but don't be afraid to open the door and look, because if you don't ever open doors and you say you know all there is to know about something, you're fooling yourself. Obviously, there's a door there that can be opened. There's more to know. So yeah, the big takeaway is we're stuck. It's time to set our intentions to only go, as far as we feel safe within Spirit to go, but to make that first step to look into this, okay? To not stay here, to accept that you can discover more on this. I'm going to go back to the tarot now to see what else we need to know. What is next? We open the door. What is next? If you need to pause here and set your intentions for your own self, please do that. What would you have us see, Spirit, to follow up on this? Where are we at? What do we need to know in this new terrain? I had a mini interruption, so I had to move my camera and put it back. My camera is my phone. I had to take it out of the holder. So I hope the setup looks all right and looks pretty much the way it did. I'm back to shuffling these cards for our next card. Insight, what's the next piece of information we need? Ace of Cups. Wow. Such a gorgeous card in any deck, really. We have a golden cup here. Bronzy even. Oops. Overflowing with water. And this fish is enjoying that, it seems. Being nourished, it's like a life force. It's that life force of love and unconditional love and spiritual support, healing. It's a beautiful energy. It's kind of like you've opened the door and you are fully supported in this. There is endless love, endless healing waters, endless life. You know, water is what supports life as well as the sun. So it's one part of the equation for supporting life. You are supported and you are loved always. And it's okay to be human and have questions and want to do exploring. And we shouldn't feel like that's naughty or not our place. I know that religion can make us feel that way, and parents can make us feel that way, and grandparents can make us feel that way, and culture, society in various ways can make us feel that way. But this is a card of being nourished, fed, loved, unconditionally. Okay, no judgment. It's beautiful. Make sure that's on there, and we'll go to another deck. I'm going to give this deck a spin, see what it has to say for us. Let's see. Please show us in one or more cards what this deck can offer us. Broken a few places. I kind of like that. So we're going to take all three cards off the cut here. So let's see what we have here. The Moon, number 24. Surrender, number 46. And Timeline. Gotta make sure these fit here somewhere. A little bit tight. As I look at these three cards and see them kind of as both individual cards and a whole, and how they tie into the rest of the reading, there's definitely a sense of feeling a little bit scared and like you're getting into territory that is you can't see very well. You know, you can't see very well by the light of the moon, especially when it's even a partial moon. And the moon is associated with nighttime and darkness and a lot of other things as well. But in this particular deck, it has to do with nighttime and fears and even sadness. You can see that the moon has some tears dripping off of it. And then the idea is that there's a cycle to these things, and the sun will come out again, and you will see, life will be bright again. But I think in a subject like this, there is a lot of discomfort and fear and old woundings. Can be lots of woundings to our level of comfort with both the divine and our sensuality. So there's just so much room for dark feelings there, and the dark night of the soul kind of thing. This card, Surrender, talks about needing to examine your where you are energetically, or where you are with your stance on things, and are you being too stubborn, Are you needing to surrender more to the situation? Do you need to give up an obsession of some sort, maybe, or an obsessive thought, or a need to be right in a situation? So there's this element of surrendering to what you're going to learn here and what your own self is going to discover. Maybe experiencing a shift of viewpoints. Also, the white flag of surrender brings to my mind, anyway, ideas of warfare, and there being one side that, not only wins because you surrender, but may do you harm because you surrender. You may become a slave to that side, so there's a lot of potential, discomfort locked up in this idea. If I give in to these thoughts, if I give into this subject, I'm going to be harmed. The enemy, and of course a lot of religious folks have the idea that there is a devil who's going to harm them. If they give 1 inch to this subject, then they're opening a door to like a Pandora's box of misery, and they're never going to get out from that. So this card actually calls you to look at that need to stand your ground, and is it what's best for you? Are you perhaps holding back on something that you need to actually surrender to? This card has to do with your relationship with time, and are you comfortable with how you're treating time? Are you experiencing a recurrence of events because you're like looping over and over again through experiences because you're not really paying attention and learning the lessons the first time? The book says up here, in my experience of time, I walk forward openly, ready to choose that, knowing the lessons fill me with wisdom. And down here it says questions. Do I fear the choices that are before me? Are there recurring choices because of the fear to choose? Am I letting my timeline unfold before me? Is this situation presenting because it is part of my timeline? Yeah. So it's that idea of you feel like you're maybe resistant to all of this, but perhaps it's time. Perhaps the time has come to look at this. You'll have to consult yourself. But I think this entire part of the reading here that fills my table is actually just the beginning. I feel like we've gotten to just part 1 of this, and it's sort of helping us kind of get through our resistance and know that there is great love for us in this. I'm going to move these cards aside, except for this one, and see what else we can find out. These tarot cards, I think I'm going to keep them out of the deck, just like they would be if this were a larger reading. I wish I had room for a larger table here. Someday I'll work it out, perhaps. So I'm going to think about the next oracle deck here. Let's look at the soul cards. These are really fascinating. There's absolutely no words with this deck. You just see what you see. Looks like we have to go this way. Yeah. What would you have us see, Spirit, in these cards? 1 or more cards to help us understand what's going on in our subconscious and in our conscious minds, please. In our psyches, in our spirits. Take this one too. Wow. These are very similar, you'll see. One looks more like a man to me, though, and one looks more like a woman, but it doesn't really have to be that way. And you see that the focus seems to be on the top of their heads. In this one, you get the idea of the crown chakra being lit with sacred information, or as this card put it, knowledge of eternity, knowledge of what is beyond us, what is above us, what is from the cosmos, what is from source. He's got his eyes open, he's looking out there, he's not asleep, he's not dead, he's taking it in like someone who's becoming more aware. And it's a knowledge that's beyond his own, brain. It's from the source of light to me. And in this one, we have a figure. She seems almost to be resting her eyes. And there's these other people or faces up here. Is she dreaming? Is she having a vision? But you get the sense that this is maybe other people in her life or other people in her ancestral line. And she's got them on her mind, or they're affecting her thoughts in some way. And so in this one we have this idea of source affecting our thoughts. And in this one we have this idea of other people affecting our thoughts or being on our mind. And I think that's also part of this conundrum is, where are we taking our information from? What are we listening to? Who are we believing? And what ultimately do we think is best who ultimately is best for us to listen to? That's for everyone to decide, of course. I know in religion we're often taught to only look to what has been taught, only look to what you can get from the holy text of your religion and what has been sanctified by the leaders in your religion, right? And that's kind of what I'm getting from here. But this could also be for people who aren't part of a organized religion and actually believe heavily in what their ancestors are guiding them in, or what other deities are guiding them in. You'll have to decide where you want to get your information from, but ultimately you need to be aware of what it is you're forming your beliefs on, and who it is you're praying to, and so forth, and what it is you're taking as your source of wisdom. Now let's go to the tarot again. This is a really deep dive, but I like it. I like that we're being prompted to think about what we're resisting. And I like that we're being prompted to think about what we're resisting, and also who or what we're listening to. Finally done with that. Yep. Ooh, we have, it looks like 3. So we have this top one here, and this one, then this one. Ooh. 10 of Wands, 2 of Wands, 7 of Cups. Yeah, interesting. Let me think on these a moment here. Right away, what I'm seeing in these cards is this idea of a portal between these 2 wands into this new world where You see, I think this is meant to represent both sun and moon. There's a path, these wands are blossoming, everything is fertile and green. Now, there's this idea of paradise, okay? This idea of the promised land. The idea of coming into a place where you are at your best. And for me, the Two of Wands is a time to make a decision, to act in some way that may be brand new and may be daunting. It may take you into unknown spaces. You can either choose to kind of stay with the tried and true, or you can, kind of try something brand new that is like jumping into the unknown. And that's sort of what we're presented with here. We're presented with this idea of going into an unknown space that we've never traveled through before, and there is this great promise there, but we're feeling like perhaps the choice is between two rather unsteady things. So we have this Ten of Wands, which is, you can see this little fox down here who is underneath these wands. Is he okay? And there's other little foxes. These are very hard to see in this deck, but I know this more from the white version of this deck, that these are little foxes that are sort of racing around, and is he hiding from them? Either way, it's a card of being burdened and overwhelmed, and your energies are just kind of reaching a tipping point. Something needs to give, basically. You can't stay in this space forever. There's an energetic finishing up of a cycle, or spiritually even. The wands represent our inner life force. And you've reached sort of the end of a road here. You have to choose, because the 10 is the end of the suit, and this is being burdened. Could be that you have a lot of spiritual baggage related to this topic. The other card here is the Seven of Cups, which is a card of fantasy, illusion, making a choice. You see all these cups stacked up here, and there's a little flower coming out of the top, which is lovely. But there's this idea of which cup do I choose, or is this stable? Is this going to fall over? Most of the time, they're not stacked. This is one of the few decks I've ever seen them stacked up in, which gives that idea of it's reaching a falling point. It's not going to stay like this for long. Also, you have all this mist or clouds here obscuring the cup somewhat, and you have this little fish here as well. So the Seven of Cups is a card of having to choose an option and feeling a little bit overwhelmed again with the options, having so many sort of emotional feelings or fantasies or dreams about what you want, and just really feeling a bit of unease. It's sort of that moon energy again of, is anything real? Can anything be trusted? Can I actually have one of these cups, or is this all a fantasy? And so we're on a journey between these extremes. You might feel that by asking questions about this, we're leading ourselves, into these kinds of territories, and it's really, I can see why we'd be resisting this. But this card promises us a way through to something better. That's how I read this. So I really like that. I think we can feel so much of these energies and not want to go any farther. But if this is your time to explore this, then this is the time to do something different than you did before. Just like that timeline card from this deck asked us, have we been here before? Have we faced the same crossroads before? Do we need to make a different choice this time? And if it's coming back around in our lives, is it time to make a new choice and do something different? Let me give this deck a chance to talk here. Power of Surrender. I'm thinking about that surrender card that came up. Maybe we can get a little more insight into what it is we're surrendering. quite a few here. I'm not sure I'll take all of those. Surrender the drama. Surrender to non-action. Surrender to creativity. Okay, so these cards may be for more than one person. I mean, one may resonate with you more, and another may resonate with another person watching this. Up here, we have cards that are kind of about, removing yourself from activity or removing yourself from, drama. It says, no matter how emotionally charged the situation, remain calm and don't contribute to the drama. Staying centered will help resolve the issue more quickly. These cards here are kind of dramatic in a sense. They make you feel restless and uncomfortable. And these two cards are kind of saying, allow yourself to breathe. This one says, now is the time to be still and not act. Simply breathe and focus on your own power. Let others come to you. Take time for yourself. This is a difficult issue. Make sure you're not pushing it. Make sure you're taking moments to breathe. This may take you... obviously, if this is bringing up resistance, this is going to be just the start of what is a long process of working through this. So it's good to take time and take it slow. Step aside from it if it's too much. Self-care is really coming through here. Caring for yourself and taking this at your own pace. Down here we have surrender to creativity. It says, let your imagination soar. Stay open to all creative ideas about how to pursue a dream or solve a problem. And I think once you're ready to look at this in more detail, if these are really calling you to step away for a bit, this is about, she's holding up not really a mirror so much as like a portal, and I get the idea of the portal here too, this idea of you don't have to rely only on yourself to find your way through this. You rely on the very source of your imagination, of your own creativity, and you follow this path as creatively as you can, right? You follow it with a journal and a pen in hand, or a sketchbook, or old photos, or whatever suits you. You figure it out and you make this your own journey. Okay, these cards are kind of just getting us started. But this card encourages us to do this in our own way and not feel there's a right way or a wrong way. There is just one step at a time, listening to spirit, listening to yourself, and letting that grow into its own thing, right? We start off with the seed. I feel like this reading is sort of the seed. And in my meditation time between filming, I saw this little sprout coming up. It's the only thing I saw. And it was encouraging to me because it was dealing with my own sense of heaviness with this subject. And I thought, okay, we're just like tender plants here getting started, right? And a plant grows and grows and becomes more, bears flowers and seeds. And this is just getting started, and it will grow into what it's going to be, but you get to choose what it looks like. You get to choose what your own journey through this looks like. I'm going to go back to tarot now. Oh, look what's on the bottom of the deck. Kind of what I saw in my vision. I saw it with a few more leaves on it, but just the start of something here. I had a feeling it was going to be a major arcana, just the way it broke with that one card. And my prayer as I was shuffling was, what is the joy to be had here? That was where I ended my shuffling. And we get the Justice card, which isn't a card I usually associate with joy. So it's telling us what we benefit, how we benefit from this journey. The Justice card is all about truth and balance. You see here a woman with, I think it's called actually in the guidebook, a tattoo of scales on her face. I can't remember for sure. The guidebook's actually in French, and I had to use Google to help me translate it, so it's a little iffy. But and then we have this beautiful sword by her side, and it's like she's parsing truth, right? She's seeing, her job is to hear all the evidence and then make a judgment and speak the truth. She's there to balance the scales, to weigh the evidence and come up with the truth. And I think that's what this reading has been guiding us to all this time, is our joy will be when we know our truth, when we know what is not being just told to us by others, but we know for sure our own truth because we've worked it out. We've taken our time to follow this path and step by step unravel the mystery of what we believe. And I think it is such a difficult subject, and so instead of the reading telling us how to see the subject, which I'm sort of used to readings showing, this reading instead gave us tips on how we feel, how we feel afraid, what it is we're resisting, and how to get past that, how to trust in love, unconditional and supportive life force love, who to listen to, and why, when to take time out for ourselves and step back from this process, and ultimately how to make it our own and arrive at our own truth. So it's going to look different for everybody, but that is, to me, a beautiful reading on how to delve into a very difficult, knotty subject that really has so much baggage with it. And it's different for everybody. I felt like closing it out with some kind of affirmation card or deck, but I really just don't feel anything quite does this justice. Not to be making a pun exactly, but it really doesn't. It feels like there's nothing more to say here. This is going to be a process for everyone to go on. How do you reconcile your ideas of the divine with your ideas of your own existence on this earth and your own sensual needs and desires? Where is the connecting point for you? How do you accommodate these different things and make them work for you, and so that you feel whole and you feel connected to source and connected to yourself fully? That's going to look different for everybody, and I just thank you so much for walking through this with me, and I look forward to hearing any thoughts, insights you want to share on this as well, and I wish all of us the best as we make this journey. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.